Welcome to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining us. I have Warren Whitlock, blockchain business advisor, TopLine Revenues. Warren, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here.
Oh, thanks for having me. It's great to be here.
All right. For those few people in the world that haven't heard your name before, give us some background on you, and then I want to dive into what you're doing, why blockchain is used for everything, and a few other topics.
Great. Yeah, so try to make it brief. Actually, when you say that, for the people that don't know, it's kind of funny. In some circles, I get well known. There's a page that says I'm the #1 influencer about the term blockchain. I'm on all sorts of lists. I have, hundreds of thousands of followers on Twitter. Wrote the first book about Twitter, but the fact is, I can go out on the street and no one knows who I am. There's 7 billion people in the world, and I think that's one of the great things I've learned over the past decade, that those people really matter. That bringing up, we actually wrote a book called Billions Rising about the people, the bottom 3 billion, basically. Hate to say bottom because that's pejorative. That's, let me just say, those people making less than $3 a day, and they make a difference. Imagine the brain power that we have in all of that. So that's what inspires me now. Blockchain is a great way to reduce friction between points, and it's anything that uses data, anything online is going to have blockchain or some derivative of the same concept. It's a distributed ledger. It's got security, smart contracts. All of that are things that are just going to be in every part of our business, bigger than the internet. And this is why, I decided to get into that. And I'll be able to. Well, let's go ahead. Go ahead, ask me some questions.
Sure.
I have a whole lot more I could say, but time is short.
Well, let's drill down into that. Your statement, it's kind of a common sense statement now, but let's hear it from you. Why blockchain is going to be used for everything? I'd like to get your perspective on that.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah, and in my history, as we were writing that book, I had heard about Bitcoin and mining, and I have a background in owning a computer hardware business for 17 years. So I had the capability to get a machine and stick it in my garage and mine, or something like that, which was kind of my intention back then. I thought that's the thing to do, and I started looking into it, and I said, gosh. I've been a tech. I've done this stuff. Let me go do something else. And so I missed Bitcoin. I had a friend, Michael Turpin, who got into it early as the largest public relations marketing firm in the blockchain space now. And, we started talking about what crypto could do outside of buy a coin and hope that it goes up in value. So let's just dismiss that as, of course, some of that has happened. Some people have gotten very rich from that. But when I started looking at things like somebody in Africa making a craft that could be sold in the U.S., and it had a great story, and I'm a storyteller. So the fact that we could say that this woman escaped a abusive relationship, her and her kids are working on the dirt floor of a market trying to make paper beads. They make them into these beautiful paper beads means trash and made into beads, and then make them into beautiful necklaces and bracelets that are, economically not really worth anything. But you tell that story and people want one. Anyone in the U.S. would pay, 10 to 100 times what it's worth to be able to have that, tell the story, and say they were supporting organization. Problem is, they would bring the beads here, along with some other things, sell them, and the woman running this program from the U.S. could only take $10,000 cash twice a year to Uganda. And I thought, well, that's just crazy. Why aren't you wiring the money? I mean, imagine getting on a plane with $10,000 in real hard cash and then going someplace and, in Africa someplace.
Yeah, not just someplace, but someplace dangerous with the cash.
Right. Yeah, hop on a plane from Vegas to LA with some money on it. That happens, and probably more than 10,000. But, actually you get that much money, it's no matter what's the size of the bill, you have to figure where you're going to put it in the luggage and whatnot.
That's heavy.
And so, and I said, why aren't you wiring it? She said, well, look at the rates. I found out that the rate from South Africa to Uganda is something like 25%. And there's some that go as high as 30. Depending on which 2 points you want. That's like Western Union type charges. I hate to lay it all on Western Union. They provide a service, that's okay. But those types of things, banking charges, government cut. And of course, when you get there with the cash, you got to convert it. She says, I don't need to sell any more of this product in the U.S. But think about how much more business could be done and strengthen that economy. And that in Billions Rising, our theme was people want a hand up, not a handout. And so we just kept looking for what were ways to reduce friction. And I went to a show called Money 2020. It's held annually here in Vegas, next to the Michael Turpin show, Coin Agenda, which I've been involved with since the start. And I started meeting these people and talking to them. And fintech is huge. There are people. I mean, we're not talking about some crazy guy with a mining equipment in his garage. We're talking about, all the major corporations are looking at this. And here's the advantages. One is a smart contract. It means like an escrow without an escrow agent, that if you do A, B, and C, I release the money or other substance. It doesn't even have to be currency. And good for tracking paperwork, recording deeds, that sort of thing. And a smart contract does that, and then a distributed ledger puts it in more than one place. And everybody has been told, keep a backup. I keep lots of backups. My base, if I write you a letter, I can't remember the last time if I scan something and sign it and send it to you, there's a copy of it in about 6 different places automatically. And that's not blockchain. Blockchain hooks all those together. And in computer hardware, we used to talk about RAID drives. And a RAID drive was you stack up, if this is the drive, this is actually a phone, but pretend it's got a storage in it, and we stack up 5 of these, and we put bits of every file on every drive. So you can literally pull out one drive and throw it away, stick in a new one, and it will heal. It will fix everything. It's got enough copies of it. And that's all in one little unit. And blockchain takes that and puts it out over the internet, and then becomes, thousands of computers. So in mining, it's important to verify all the transactions. That's what makes it okay to use a Bitcoin instead of, a gold bar. Neither of them are very good for walking into 7-Eleven and buying candy. No. You need a candy and soda. You better get something besides Bitcoin and gold bars. But they're both real currency. And then other things are built on top of that. Sure, Bitcoin's very slow because of all the mining that has to be done with it. And then there's been improvements to that over time. And so there's a lot of people that say blockchain doesn't work. It's Bitcoin. It's going to be, this DAP, distributed, DLP. It's early here. I'm searching for acronyms.
Well, I'll tell you what, we use our cryptocurrency as a form of exchange ourselves, in regards to booking air charters or things of that nature. I run through a lot of people that do that. They get that. Let me move forward, if I may. Okay. One of the things that you're really noted for is how to work with influencers to get your message out. I run through a lot of companies that come here. As a matter of fact, anywhere from 100 to 140 companies come through our show a month. And that is a big thing. It's a big thing with me, and it's a big thing with everyone else. How to be able to work with influencers effectively, get their attention so they will work with you. Shed some light on that for us.
Okay. Well, there's a lot that's just like like everything else. It's about relationships.
Yes.
You need to get to know people and work together. And I've been talking to you 5 minutes, and I consider you somewhat of a friend already.
Thank you.
I mean, so somebody I feel like I could reach out to you tomorrow and you take my call. We could talk about doing something. It's not that hard. But leading up to today, there were emails, there were contacts, I had to fill out a form for you. We did all this kind of stuff. We got to know each other before that. And the details change, but the relationship's the same. Once you get face to face with somebody, very quick, and then online and the other things we have just speed that up. So what we do is we work like good old PR, which most people don't understand how PR really works. It's about a guy with a good Rolodex, pitching stories, making deals, helping people. And I add one more thing to that. I used to put together promotions to get 1 million emails sent out at the same time. And all I did was go out to the people that had mailing lists and see what I could do to make it better for them. And in all copywriting and all marketing and all sales, I think, what can I do to help the other guys? When I'm here, I'm thinking, what can I do to help your audience, not what can I get for me? Once you lose that idea of you got to push out a message, that's the beauty of what like PR does. Well, PR is all set up to go for the largest publication they can. You're paying a guy thousands and thousands of dollars a month, and you want him to get you some action. Well, he needs to get you in the Wall Street Journal, needs to get you on network TV, blah, 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 all those kind of things. And what we have today is a whole lot of smaller influencers. So like, I've got a few 100,000 people that listen to me. You've got your audience that listens to you. When we work together, first of all, that means I'm talking to your audience and I'll tweet this and it'll go out to my audience. And, that's how we grow little by little, piece by piece, brick by brick. And the difference today is we have tools that allow us to maintain that many relationships. I have in my, I use nimble.com as a CRM for this. I have 475,000 people that I have connected with, talked to online, done something with. LinkedIn, tens of thousands. And the Twitter is a little bit different because I wrote the first book about Twitter and, I have a little bit of fame there. So there's people around the world that just follow me and we never talk. But every time I get a business card, every time I meet anybody, I try to keep track of that. And it's, it's not easy. It's a lot of what I do every day. But then the serendipity of being able to find somebody, if you say, hey, we need somebody that, knows about XYZ in this location, I can put it in and do something. That's what I did with blockchain. I decided to focus on that, less than a year ago. And I had a long history of talking about blockchain, but I hadn't really done any business in it. And so what I did was I went to LinkedIn and I did a search on who I knew in blockchain. And it's like a couple of thousand people that have been attracted to me because of what I talk about, what I do. And I was able to go from one thing to another very quickly. So when I tell somebody how to do influence marketing, it's find somebody who is an influencer and content provider. Let's take you, for instance. I know you, the name of your show, what you're talking about. I really don't know a whole lot of depth because, I wasn't able in the few days we've known each other to review all of your material. But, just knowing that it's the type of show that it is, I know you're going to reach a business audience. And if I want to reach that business audience and if I have a corporate size budget for media, or even if I don't, even if I have $50 to spend, I'm going to say, hey, what can we do with this? You post you do the show. It looks really good. I look at your audience. Of course, that matters. Let's say you have 100 people. Oh, that's nice. I have 1,000. Boy, that's 10 times as nice. You have 10,000, whatever. And I think, gosh, if I advertise your show, I could get it out to 1 million people. So I come on, do the interview and do that. Or if I want to be a sponsor, I say, hey, I'd like you to have these 4 people on during the next 6 months. And disclose fully that it's sponsored, and then I'm going to throw some money at it. I'm going to build your audience, and that's one trick that most people with influencer marketing totally miss. The idea that the big company needs something more than the guy that's got multi-millions, because if you have millions of followers, we lose some of that influence thing. Don't get me wrong, it's okay. If the celebrity endorses you and tweets about you, great. But also, while you're doing that, you can go and look and say, hey, where is somebody that's passionate about my audience, that connects with real people? And what can we do together? Can we set up an interview? Can we just sponsor the show? Can we put our logo on one of those bricks back there? And what can we do? Get you talking about that. My friend Robert Scoble used to do a show that was sponsored by somebody, and he just moved from sponsor to sponsor and really dedicate doing the programs for him. And when he got really big, he went to work for Rackspace, and Rackspace gave him a studio, and it was his space, and it was obviously Rackspace. He never pitched Rackspace, but then he told me about how they pay for him doing that. He was making deals and introductions that led to multi-million-dollar contracts, and while he was doing that, and it had very little to do with them buying his audience. It was them helping him build his audience.
Exactly.
So if you do that, if you keep that concept in mind, doesn't matter. I'll tell you how I've done it. I've done these interviews a couple of thousand times.
Go ahead. I'm listening.
Yeah. Little by little, brick by brick, couple of thousand interviews.
Okay.
And I have links into my website. I have introductions to other people. I sometimes I met up with a friend I knew back in college days, and he bumped into me at a show here in Vegas. And we got talking, and I said, yeah, I do some videos sometimes. He says, well, why don't you do more of those? I watch every video you do. Oh, crap. A guy I knew 40 years ago is regularly watching my videos. I don't know. You never know who that is. And I'm going to do some business with that guy.
Well, let me say this. Number one, you took a page out of our playbook and just read it word for word. I mean, that's exactly. You just described exactly what we do. But we're running out of time, and I don't want you to think that we have to get the entire elephant in this show. I would love to have you come back again and again and drop little pearls of wisdom to our audience.
Oh,
but before we go this
to.
time, okay, good. Then that's settled. But before we go this time, you are a thought leader. You are an innovator. You bust that envelope wide open. Give our audience just a peek at what you see as future trends in the industry sectors. We're talking about marketing, getting the word out, using influencers and blockchain. But future trends, the top 3 most important things you see that come to your mind right now.
Okay, and since I'm doing this, I'll plug my book.
Do that, yes. Send me one.
Yeah, Twitter Revolution. I'd love to. Be sure to send me an address, and I'll send you one.
Absolutely.
In Twitter Revolution, what we tried to get across, it was the first book about Twitter. It's 10 years old now. It's kind of fun to read it because you'll see some people like, wow, I'd like to get that guy as a guest. And he was just some guy at a show when I met him, because social media wasn't what it is today. The point of what we were trying to say in the revolution, the reason we called it Twitter Revolution, was we thought that it wasn't about Twitter.com. It was about the bigger revolution. We didn't call it social media revolution because we wanted to be the first book about Twitter. Twitter just allows you to do it much faster and in shorter messages.
Right.
And that is listen more than speak. It's funny because, we're communicating. We say, in this context, we're professional communicators, right? We've got to talk a lot, right? No. But most of the time on Twitter and on Facebook, I do everything I can to edify somebody else. I listen, I retweet, I reply. And it's not like, hey, Warren, I need to get this message out. Will you retweet? Usually somebody asks me that, I go, no, I don't. I get asked that every day. Do something of quality, I want to retweet it. You might let me know about it if we're friends and we build a relationship. That's okay. But just to ask somebody with a big audience to retweet, why would they? Oh, because my dog is sick, whatever. No, I don't care. Really, I have empathy. I I can sympathize with your situation. Yeah, your house burned down and your mom has cancer and all those kind of things. And look at this poor child. And that makes sense. But what I learned from Billions Rising and other study of self-reliance is most people are better off if they help themselves. And can you help them help themselves? And that I can do. When I see a good cause or something like that, I see how can I help? And it's not by, retweeting your pledge drive. It's by what could I really do to help and what advice I could give or what connection I could make. And so that's where I try to do my focus. But all the time I'm listening. So I'll give you one quick tip that we do. I started teaching people to search for Cincinnati space sushi space ? On Twitter. It works great on Twitter. It'll also work on Google, but in other search, Facebook, LinkedIn search, not that good. But on Twitter especially, the search engine is just fantastic. And if you do Cincinnati space sushi space ? You'll get only people asking questions about sushi in Cincinnati. And I do that on a regular basis. I have to admit, it's probably been a year or so since I did it. I've never been to Cincinnati, nor do I care for sushi. But I do this. The trick is I will get a screen full of people asking questions about sushi in Cincinnati. And I'm always careful to say in every interview I use this, not to give me your recommendations for sushi in Cincinnati. I don't care. But that's the thing. Some people do care. And so if I run a dry cleaners and I put stain removal, ? And in my local market, boy, I'm going to find some people. And you might find somebody to go sell your better stain removal services to. But that's a lot of work. Better to find somebody who is looking for help someplace in the globe, which there's plenty of people. No longer do we need to go knocking door to door. We just open up Twitter or whatever and listen. You get the alerts coming in your inbox out of, say, Google Alerts, whatever. You find people and you see, how could I help? And often that's a good comment. You want more comments on your blog post? Why? Go to somebody else's blog, leave comments on their post. That'll get you some traffic coming in and some people who are really interested in what you're talking about because they'll come there naturally. Do more of that. That's exactly how I promote my websites. I mean, yeah, I've got a big Twitter audience, but I look up the comment section, people that have comment sections on blogs talking about my topic, and I join in the conversation and I try to help. I'm thinking, what can I do to help this person do a better job? And so same with you. When we post this show, you'll give me a link. I'm going to promote it because I want you to do better, because when you do better, I do better.
Those are my sentiments exactly. Warren, we're out of time right now, but I'd love to have you back on the show with more to talk about in a future date soon.
Anytime. Just let me know. I'm at Warren Whitlock on Twitter. Find me there. You've got my email, warrenwhitlock.com. I'm hard to miss online.
You got it. All right, you've been watching CEO Money with Michael Yorba. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.